My name is Laura Stevens, and I am a contemporary wildlife artist, and I am here at the Coiman Galleries in Ottawa. These are some of my pieces from my new collection, which I'm so excited that I get to showcase here today. I started painting, probably whenever I was 18, I went to Sheridan Institute to study studio arts. And, I kind of traveled around a bit, bounced around, and I worked in art galleries where I really got familiar with the Canadian art scene and what a wonderful environment it is and how many talented people are out here. So eventually I settled down. I have a really cool family, and it was a good time for me to join that roster of Canadian artists. So here I am, started painting, and you know what, I haven't looked back. Whenever I begin a painting, it's always about the color. It's always the color at first. And then I'll have a reference photo in mind, and I'll use that for my initial kind of concept sketch, I guess. But in response to that, they do have their own personality. So I could use the same reference photo, 10 times in a row, and they would never be the same. I would refuse to make them the same. I would use different colors, different lines. Aside from the initial sketch, so to speak, I don't use it after that. So, everything sort of happens organically after that. The paint is all applied directly to the canvas. I would never paint it or put it on a palette ahead of time and mix it. It's all directly put on there and then worked right on the canvas. So that way the color remains really intense and really pure, and then any mixing just happens organically. And then you can kind of lean into that, if something's really working, it's it's a color I didn't expect, so it's fun. The colors sort of dictate the feel and the personality of the picture. Do I want this to be a moody sort of piece? Maybe it'll have darker tones in it. Do I want it to be, a happy, lively piece? Maybe it will have more of these turquoise tones in it. It's all about the color. I use the same reference photos often. I'm really drawn to that up-close portrait style, so that we can cultivate that emotional connection. Because you wouldn't get that close to these animals in the wild, right? But when we see them like this in my work, you can kind of imagine it. You can get up close. You can kind of think oh, we're not that different. You can have that moment with them. My biggest inspiration as an artist is got to be color. It's the thing that really gets me excited. That a new shade of something that I've discovered, or a new type of paint, or, you can be out walking and see something in nature or something on the street, and you see that color combination and just stops you. And I think how can I do that with my work, and how can I showcase that? So I would say that's my biggest inspiration. Secondly, it's got to be the Canadian animals. I love painting animals. They're so fun. They're brilliant to abstract. You have a lot of room to play with the lines and the shapes and the colors. And, as a celebration of being Canadian and supporting these kinds of things is something that it's a good subject matter for me. Typically, I paint bears and moose. I dabble occasionally in other animals, but I keep coming back to these great big bovine type animals. They're really fun to play with, and I love abstracted work. So these kinds of animals are great because you can, abstract them till the cows come home. But as long as you have the few key elements to them, like the eyes, the nose, the ears, all in the right place, then your brain can kind of fill in the blanks, and I like that about them. I do the eyes last. They have to match the rest of the piece. So if the eyes are too detailed, they're going to look out of place. I'm a classically trained artist, so I do understand realism too. That's how I was taught. But in order for an eye to work within this type of work, it has to be abstracted as well. So you don't have a lot of room for error with that. When people speak about my work, it's often either oh, I love the color, or then, oh, look at the eyes. And then they stare at it. And as an artist, I want like, that's the goal, right? Like, I want people to keep looking at my work. And the eyes on an animal are a really great hook for that. It's a really interesting thing to have, you know, like a two-dimensional picture, but we can still elicit like an emotional response from the viewer. And that's what I want. At the end of the day, I want you to feel an emotional attachment to my work so much that, you know, it's great to stand here and love it, and I want you to love it so much that you bring it home with you and you can continue to love it in your home. And the eyes are a really great way to, you know, make that connection happen. And as much as you make art for yourself, I want it to fit in people's homes. I want it, like, that's why I pair, you know, these bright neon type colors with neutral tones, right? Because not only does it showcase the bright color, but also, you know, it matches, say, the wood tones in your house. It matches like the blacks in your home. It matches, like, I want it to be placeable in your house. And I keep that in the back of my mind as I go. Every day I go to the studio and I'm happy to be there. Like, I'm happy with this style of painting. I'm happy that people respond to it. I'm happy that it sells. I'm happy that I can do what I love and have a career out of it. So for me, that's success in a nutshell.